I'm County Executive Ken Jenkins, and today is April 14th, and this is our municipal weekly update. Again, we're going to start with this afternoon with our supervisor. Our municipal guest is Supervisor Ed Lachterman from our town of Yorktown. We are so honored today. We're going to have Chris Perez up here for recognition of the outstanding work he did in saving a life in Jefferson Village and Yorktown. Then we're going to follow that. We're talking about National Public Safety Telecommunications Week, which connects very nicely to that particular incident. And then we're going to have some conversation from the Westchester County Office of Drug Abuse Prevention and Stop DWI, as well as our County Taxi and Limousine Commission chairperson and our CEO from the TLC, Leandra Astouche. We haven't seen her in a minute, and it's going to be really great to see her and talking about prom that's coming up. We're going to have Teja Sanchala here with us this afternoon to talk Fair Housing Month. And then we'll follow up with the Deputy County Executive talking about the county park system and everything that's happening in Westchester County Park System. Today we're going to start though with our municipal guest. Today is Yorktown Supervisor Ed Lachterman, that we're so pleased to have him here. The town of Yorktown has about 38,000 people in it. He's going to join us to tell us about the latest updates and developments from the town of Yorktown, from community initiatives and upcoming projects. Supervisor Lachterman will give us a look inside of what's happening inside of Westchester's most vibrant towns. With that, let's turn over to our supervisor of the town of Yorktown, Ed Lachterman. Ed, thank you, it's really great to see you.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me here today, Ken. Appreciate it very much. In Yorktown, we have been working on revitalizing a lot of our blight areas commercially. We've just had a ton of ribbon cuttings, two this past Saturday, one for a Michael's and one for a barbershop that moved to a bigger, more spacious location. We've had Five Below open, a TJ Maxx, a slew of restaurants, and just really have been working to increase our commercial space. In addition, we have some housing initiatives coming up. One that I'm very happy to be having on our agenda tomorrow night is regarding some senior 55 and over rentals, which you don't really find too much of. That'll help complement some of our seniors who are looking for new housing, and they want to scale down from their house or larger condominiums and townhouses. So we're very excited about all of that, but I really wanted to talk a little bit about Chris Perez, if I may. So Chris is another guest here today, and Chris is one of our postal carriers at one of our senior communities, Jefferson Village. And a couple of weeks ago, I believe it was the 28th of March, a Friday afternoon, Chris, probably almost finished with his route, saw some smoke coming out of one of the buildings. And instead of deciding to say, well, you know, it's the end of my day, let me get out of here, Chris said, I see something. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to act. And Chris went up to the apartment and noticed flame engulfing the front of the building. And thinking very quickly, he drove around to the back of the building with his mail truck and was able to assist a resident who was trapped and have them climb down onto the truck so they could escape the fire. And he was helped by three other residents, one who was knocking on doors to make sure that the other residents were notified about the fire, and all the apartments were full, so it was very, very imperative that she did that. And there was a gentleman, Renee, who's one of the landscapers there. He has his own company. He came over to help, as well as one of the residents, Ed Hammond. So it was really, team effort of people. But we always speak about Yorktown being an exceptional place to live, to work, even to visit, with all of our things to do. But we have exceptional people there. And even though Chris isn't a resident, I'm sure he's an honorary resident of Jefferson Village now. He's worked in our community for quite a while, and we appreciate him and what he did and what his quick actions, because we don't want to drop to 37,999. We want the 38. We want to keep growing, and every life that's saved is, as our first responders can tell us, that's a really great thing that we're doing. And Christopher, I want to just congratulate you and thank you on those actions.
So with that, we're going to ask Chris Perez to come up and come up a second, Chris, and be able to recognize first. Thank you so much for doing the work that you've done and saving someone's life and taking the extra initiative. While Supervisor Lachman was mentioning those things, we were running the video that people had received of that, and again. Being a real-life hero, to be able to do that. I know you weren't thinking of that, and I've seen you so many times. You're so humble. Something we're happy to have you say a few words. Right.
So I'm just very grateful and humble for this opportunity to actually step in and make a difference. That day could have been completely different, and I'm proud to say that I had what it took in order to get something done. And I'm just grateful to all of my customers in that area for showing me so much love, and the town of Yorktown embracing me. And I'm just truly honored, and thank you so much.
Well. Thank you so much. And again, Supervisor Lachman took the time to give us a few words about your town and the great work that's going on, and there's so much movement on the business side. And certainly you and your council members or town board members are doing so much to continue to move things forward, including a new housing complex, which I'm sure Chris was looking forward to helping to serve when it gets involved. But again, on behalf of the people of Westchester County and certainly the town of Yorktown, continue to recognize you for all of the work that you've done. We recognize you as well, Chris. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate you.
Yes,
right?
Sir. Thank
right?
you. Thank you, sir.
And again, we want to thank Supervisor Lachman for coming in and making sure to let us know the things that are going on up in your town. And there's so many other great things that are happening. I know that they have work that's going on in the public space. To be able to have recreation space and all those kind of things that are happening, as well as great developments that are happening. 118 and Underhill Road is another one that's developments happening. But to get businesses engaged and involved, I did see a bunch of folks up at 9 o'clock in the morning on Saturday morning for the Michael's ribbon cutting, and another great opportunity to continue to have investments from business communities to do that. And then when you link that to the kind of work and the honor from a person like Chris Perez that had taken that time and energy and effort to be able to not look the other way, not to continue on and say it's the end of my day, to get engaged and involved and support. And actually, if I remember correctly, his statement is like having superhuman strength to pick up the 250-pound person and get them over the bars of the thing. Say, I did watch, right? To be able to see that going on. And again, we're just so very honored for you to have come in, but I know the town of Yorktown and everyone in the Postal Service is so proud of you for our United States Postal Service and the work that you continue to do. So again, congratulations for you being here. At this time, I'm going to ask the Deputy County Executive to come up, and he will give us an introduction for our friends in the emergency services in the telecommunications world. So with that, Deputy County Executive.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Certainly a great honor for me to introduce our next group of folks that I had the great honor and pleasure to work with for some 4 years. At this time, I'd like to invite our Commissioner Susan Spear, our Deputy Commissioner Michael Volk, and our other colleagues from Emergency Services. Why don't you come up? And our Deputy Commissioner is going to make a presentation. This is an important week of celebration of our dispatchers. And Michael, why don't you tell us all about it? Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, and thank you. First of all, I wanted to thank the county executive and the deputy county executive and our commissioner, Susan Spear, for her leadership in our department. The county and the administration has been very supportive, so we really appreciate that, so thank you. And where's the town supervisor of Yorktown? I grew up in Yorktown, so. And Chris, if you want to volunteer somewhere, go to your local community, fire department, EMS, they're always looking for people, so. With that, I want to introduce our Supervisor Sal Astorita, our Communications Captain John Munson, and our CAD/Communications Lieutenant Gina DeLeo, an enormous part of our program that we have. And don't worry, there's still people back answering the 911 at the center. So we didn't bring everybody here. But this is an important week. The week of April 13th through the 19th is National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. The week is designated to support and recognize our 911 dispatchers. Often those are not the ones that you see in the paper or you see putting out fires or doing rescues. They're the ones that start everything. They're the first ones who get the call. And when somebody dials 911, they're helping direct folks. They're helping figure out who has to go to the calls, if it's a fire, EMS, or a law enforcement event. We work closely with our partners at the Department of Public Safety. They also have a dispatch center, and their operators too should be recognized this week, along with many of the communities that have dispatchers in their 911 centers. These are highly trained men and women that answer the calls when they come in day and night, 24/7, 365 days a year. While we're home with our families at night or during the holidays, many of these men and women are working. They don't get to spend the time that we do always. So this is our opportunity to give them a hand and recognition about the good work that they do. They also, they did dispatch that call in the Lake Michigan Fire District for that fire in Jefferson Village there. So they are also heavily involved in the responses. At least it's the voice you hear on the other side of the radio. Now you get to see some of them here. They do provide emergency medical dispatch and pre-arrival instructions. So if somebody's calling with a medical emergency, they can actually train somebody over the phone, if they're willing, to perform CPR, deliver a baby, stop severe bleeding. Very talented, very dedicated personnel. They do go through a lot of training, and it's some of the folks we don't get to see all the time. We may hear their voices on the radio, but they're not the ones we see. So I just wanted to let you know, for the almost million calls that 911 is received in Westchester this past year, here are some of the faces of those individuals that do a great job doing that. And again, the support of administration is greatly appreciated. So thank you.
Thank you. I did want to mention before you run off the stage that many of our folks that are dispatchers 24/7 throughout the year, they also are first responders in their communities. They belong to fire departments, ambulance services, and these folks up here represent them. So we're extremely proud of all the work that you do, particularly for Westchester County citizens. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and it's always great to make sure that we're recognizing National Public Safety Telecommunications Week. I was told by the captain I'm allowed to say Dispatcher Week, right? But the reality is, as it was pointed out, you don't know how things are going to happen, and those folks that take the million calls, almost a million calls from 911, you expect that they're going to make the calls, be able to get the dispatch to the local communities, to the fire and EMS folks that are out there. And we saw a piece of that example by Chris Perez taking his own initiative when he saw smoke and fire and listening to the neighbors that had trust in him to be able to say, hey, there's a problem, and people jumping in and getting involved. And Supervisor Lachterman mentioned all of the people that were engaged and involved on the local level, and then be able to have the professionals that came in that do that work in the Lakeland Fire District, as well as the EMS folks to do that. And again, the family in this case was very, very appreciative of Mr. Perez taking the additional steps to be able to, again, lift someone up on top of the truck and be able to continue to do things in quick thinking, et cetera. And as Deputy Commissioner Vogt mentioned, prevention that said that there's a future in EMS and fire district, whatever calls that you have, wherever you are. And again, we have a new law in Westchester County that lets you volunteer no matter where you live, that you can volunteer as long as you're a volunteer somewhere. In Westchester County, you have a 10% discount on your county tax. So something to keep in mind, and no matter who is involved. Yes, that is new. We just signed that like 2 weeks ago. So again, that kind of thing is so very important. At this time, we're going to switch gears, and we want to talk for a minute about the next set of things that are happening here in Westchester County. And as the warmth today is 60-something degrees in Westchester County. Here in White Plains, it's about 62 degrees right now. The sun's out. People are thinking the schools are out this week for spring break for so many people, which means we're getting ready to get to prom season. And when we have prom season, we want to make sure that people are taking additional care in making sure that they're safe and they're secure, so we don't end up having to go to our emergency service dispatch folks for any kinds of things. So with that, let me ask the county's Office of Drug Abuse Prevention and Stop DWI, Pat Tomasi, and certainly the County Taxi and Limousine Commission Chairperson and CEO, Leandra Estuche, to come up and give us some words and let us know about the prom season. So Pat, Leandra, come on up.
Thank you, sir. First of all, I want to say how honored I am to be in the presence of people who are unsung heroes. God bless the work that you do, because it's really very important. So, thank you, Ken, and good afternoon. Prom season, well, the word is almost magical in many worlds. I think all of us can probably remember our proms, and hopefully our proms were happy and fun times for everybody. And even now, of course, it's prom mania, and for the students, the teachers, and even the parents today, in today's world. So where do we come in? One of the components of the Stop DWI program, which is part of the Department of Public Safety, as I think you all know, is public information and education. And embedded in the public information and education is safety and prevention. So prom safety is one of our big initiatives, and helping students create the happy and fun memories that hopefully we had. So how do we do this? Each year, in conjunction with TLC, we send out letters to the schools, both public and private, in Westchester, asking them for their help to ensure that the school proms and surrounding events are safe for all students. Attached to the letter is a prom brochure that talks about safety initiatives, as well as fact sheets and contractual information about staying safe and how to hire limousines for the occasion. And these attachments are both in English and in Spanish. We ask the principals to speak with the students and their parents about planning pre- and post-prom activities. We also emphasize that the police will be strictly enforcing the laws about drug abuse, alcohol use, consumption with minors, etc., and false identification. All very important initiatives. We also remind the students that the same rules and regulations that apply when they're on school property apply to when they are at their own particular proms. We then ask the various schools to give us the name and the location of all the proms, where they're going to be, so we can get in touch with the vendors and the venues about the safety issues that we have we've implemented. We also note that all of these letters are sent out to locations in the New York City area, because it turns out that over the years, more and more of out-of-town, out-of-county schools are coming into the area. As a matter of fact, we have 85 proms so far listed that are scheduled, and 42% of those are from out of county. So we've got different issues. But letters are also sent out to all of those particular schools and the principals, telling them them exactly what we expect here in Westchester and what we're going to do. But prevention is the key. Prevention is a big, big part of it. Many of the schools have mandated pre-prom assemblies, and some of them require that the prom goers go to the assembly if they want a ticket to the prom. And so in our local drug-free coalitions, of which we have about 30 here in Westchester, work with a lot of the communities and do prom things. We put prevention messages in we go to the florists and put them in the corsage boxes, into the tuxes of the gentlemen who are wearing the tuxes, and there are other things that they do. Some schools, as a matter of fact, have the red carpet, and the kids walk out on the red carpet and they take pictures, but they're all given that prevention message of being careful and let's make happy and fun times. But what has happened is that many of the proms, prevention works because many of the schools for the proms provide their own transportation. So what the schools do is they check the buses, check the students before they get on the buses, just to make sure that everybody is clear about the messages that they have to do. So what has happened is over the years we've had less drug and alcohol confiscation, which is really good. So the responsibility has sort of shifted, and it's in the area of the schools. So most of the schools within Westchester have their own buses, but many of the schools in the New York City area still have their private limos and taxis. So without further ado, I'll let Leandra talk about that particular initiative, because that's really the very important part of the enforcement of it. So, Leandra?
Thank you, Pat. Good afternoon, all. I would like to thank County Executive Ken Jenkins and his communications team for the opportunity to speak here today. So as prom season approaches, students across the county are eagerly preparing for a night filled with memories, celebration, and pride. But while the focus is usually on dresses, nails, and tuxedos, there is a critical safety issue that demands our attention, and that is the use of unlicensed car services for prom transportation. The Westchester County Taxi and Limousine Commission urges students, parents, and school communities to remain vigilant when selecting transportation for prom night. Each year, we see a concerning rise in the use of unlicensed, unregulated car services during this time. These operators often advertise on social media, offering flashy vehicles and low prices that appeal to students and their parents. But behind the wheel is often someone with no TLC license, no for-hire insurance, and even worse, no accountability. These services may appear convenient, but they are not safe and they are not legal. As the chairperson and chief executive officer of the Westchester TLC, I want to make it very clear that unlicensed operators put passengers, especially minors, at serious risk. These individuals are not subject to the background checks, drug testing, safety inspections, or training that is required for licensed operators. In the event of an accident or emergency, there is no protection for passengers, no commercial insurance, and often no way to track the driver. This prom season, the Westchester TLC and its enforcement team is partnering with Stop DWI, other members of the Department of Public Safety, and various school administrators to set up prom safety checkpoints outside of popular venues in the county. This will include locations in New Rochelle, Glen Island, Mamaroneck, and Lake Isle. Vehicles containing prom students will be stopped by county police officers at the checkpoints and search for drugs, alcohol, weapons, and illegal substances. Any students found to be in possession of prohibited items will be referred to school officials and face possible exclusion from prom. Officers will also be checking the credentials of drivers and their vehicles to ensure that they have proper operating authority and insurance. Operators caught transporting passengers without proper licensing will face fines, vehicle impoundment, and in serious cases, criminal charges. To the students of Westchester County and their parents, we do not want to ruin a night of fun, but we want you to have a memorable night for the right reasons. Please think twice before bringing illegal substances to prom or accepting a ride from an unverified source. A few dollars saved is not worth your safety. Prom season will run from April 25th until the last week of June. The mission of the Westchester TLC is simple: to keep riders safe. Prom should be a celebration, not a risk. Together, through awareness and enforcement, we can protect our young people and make sure everyone gets home safe. Thank you.
So Pat and Leandra, thank you so much for bringing those words and making sure that people understand as we're going through the prom season that there's two different components of this. One is with the students themselves that are attending prom, and certainly the efforts to stop DWI and the Office of Drug Abuse and Prevention is one component of it. The other component is getting there and making sure that people get there safely and securely. And again, it's not worth saving a few bucks when you're not, or when you're utilizing a taxi or limousine service that is not licensed and also not licensed in Westchester, because we have to say that as well, especially when people are coming from New York City and the surrounding areas to be able to participate, especially on the shore clubs down in New Rochelle, and then going up the line in Mamaroneck. But certainly there's other places throughout Westchester County that other counties also utilize. And again, we were trying to make sure that everyone has, as Leandra said, a memorable night for the right reasons, right? And again, accidents happen all the time, right? So want you make sure that everyone gets safe and they're covered by insurance and everything else, as the drivers are licensed to be able to take people around as a limousine driver, not just a regular old driver, because that is a challenge. That doesn't say family members don't take people around. That's something different than a for-hire vehicle. But again, we're asking people to make sure that they're being aware of this. All this information is on the website for the Taxi and Limousine website, and certainly there's a link that's being pointed to this afternoon. So we want to say thank you for making sure to bring that information. As prom season's coming up, April 25th is 10 days away, right? So people don't realize how quickly that comes up, especially some of our schools that close earlier than at the end of June. So it goes right through to the end of June. At this time, we're going to ask Tejas Shantala to come up here and tell us about Fair Housing Month. We're pleased to welcome Human Rights Commissioner Tejas Shantala, who will preview the county's upcoming Fair Housing Month event. Tejas.
Thank you so much, Ken. Good afternoon, everyone. This month, we mark two powerful anniversaries connected to fair housing. First, we remember it's 57 years since the assassination of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He died in Memphis while fighting for justice, and housing was at the centerpiece of that fight. Dr. King understood something that still resonates today. Where you live shapes how you live. It affects the air you breathe, the water you drink, the school your child attends, your job, your access to green space, and so much more. Your zip code can determine your entire life. So that's why housing discrimination was central to the racial injustice that Dr. King talked about. At the time of Dr. King's assassination, the Federal Fair Housing Act had been stalled for years in Congress. It was reportedly one of the most filibustered bills in Congress. On April 4th, 1968, we lost Dr. King. He was taken from us, and his death sent shockwaves throughout our country. Last week, I had the privilege to be with Reverend Lee Trollinger from Calvary Baptist Church, and he talked about participating in a march or a rally outside the Westchester County Center in the days after Dr. King's assassination. There were over 100 cities that had protests and violence erupting and unrest in the cities in the week after Dr. King's assassination. And just 7 days later, on April 11th, that was Friday, 1968, Congress passed the Fair Housing Act. That brings us to the second anniversary this month that we mark, and that's the passage of a landmark law that's born out of courage, grief, and the urgent demand for justice. And some people say, I don't know if the Fair Housing Act would have been passed in 1968 if not for Dr. King and Dr. King's work. So each April, we observe Fair Housing Month. And I've been a lawyer for 20 years, and I know passing a law does not necessarily mean you end discrimination. It is a tool to fight discrimination, but it is not a panacea. The promise of fair housing remains unrealized for many. And the legacy of housing discrimination runs deep in our country, even in Westchester County. And people sometimes tell me, hey, Tejas, redlining and housing discrimination are ancient history. And I remind them, I say, let's just be clear. 2 years ago, the United States Department of Justice in 2023 collected its largest settlement ever in a redlining case, $31 million in California. That's in 2023. And nationally, it's estimated there are more than 4 million instances of housing discrimination that occur every year, and only a tiny fraction of those are reported. According to the National Fair Housing Alliance, there were over 34,000 administrative housing discrimination complaints that were filed in 2023. That's the highest number they've ever recorded. And, you know, I look at that 4 million number and I look at the 34,000 number. That means less than 1% of these incidents are being reported. So what can we do about it? As the Human Rights Commission, we educate and empower the community to speak up when their rights are being violated. We investigate and we enforce the law. Civil rights experts say one of the most powerful ways to combat discrimination is through robust enforcement. And here in Westchester, we're proud to have a very strong and pioneering fair housing law. I'm grateful to the county executive for his longstanding support. When the county's fair housing law was passed in 2008, county executive was then a member of the Board of Legislators, and he voted to approve that. He's also been a longtime supporter based in Yonkers for his work in fighting for fair housing in our community. So if you face discrimination, I encourage you to report it. If you know someone who's being excluded, I encourage you to stand with them. And finally, I invite you to all come to our Human Rights Commission program on April 30th at 6 p.m. in White Plains for a special Fair Housing Month event. We will be screening America Divided, A House Divided. It is a powerful documentary featuring Norman Lear. And for those who do not know Norman Lear, many in this room may, but there are many who don't, he is a 6-time Emmy Award winner, member of the Television Academy Hall of Fame, creator of some favorites like All in the Family, Good Times, The Jeffersons. And in this documentary, he goes and talks to realtors, city officials, landlords, and he investigates New York City's affordability crisis, the hedge fund speculation on residential housing. And he goes undercover as a fair housing tester to see the legacy of housing discrimination that still persists today. So after the film is about 45 minutes. After the film, we'll be holding a panel discussion. Some of our panelists are George Asante, who's the director of the Office Housing Council for Westchester County, and Marlene Zarfus, who's the executive director for Westchester Residential Opportunities. Our moderator will be Josh Levin. He's the county's fair housing director. You can register by calling our office at 914-995-9500, by emailing the Human Rights Commission at humanrights@westchestercountyny.gov. And I want everybody to remember, if you only remember one thing that I said here today, fair housing is a human right. I encourage you to all join us on April 30th and to learn about fair housing, learn about how it impacts all of us, it impacts our entire community, and learn about what role you can play in building what Dr. King called the beloved community, where nobody, regardless of their race, their national origin, their gender, their sexual orientation, their source of income, is not impeded from living with respect and dignity. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you on the 30th. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tejas. And again, just a reminder on April 30th, and that information is online at humanrights.westchestergov.com, where we'll be able to see that information and be able to get some more information about the ongoing efforts to promote fair and equitable housing throughout Westchester, working with all the municipalities and certainly working with Tejas and his team to help people understand the things that are necessary in every community in Westchester County to make sure everyone feels warm and welcome. With that, let's turn over to the Deputy County Executive to talk about parks. DCE.
Thank you, sir. Once again, we're here to tell you a little bit about our nationally accredited, some 5 times, the only county Parks and Recreation Department in New York State to be accredited. And we're really proud of the work that they do. And they work hard to put together some programs for our community to take advantage of. And this week, starting tomorrow, Tuesday, April 15th, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., Gardening Tuesdays at Lazen Park and Arboretum. The You'll be able to enhance your gardening skills and plant knowledge by working side by side with gardeners at the park. On Wednesday, April 16th, we have Dancing with the Stars at Westchester County Center. I know a lot of our first responders are going to be out there dancing and celebrating. And you can enjoy performances from professionals, professional dancers, and special guests. And we're all looking forward to that program. And then on Thursday, April 17th, from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., Farm to Fable at the Hilltop Hanover Farm and Environmental Center in Yorktown. Ages 3 to 6 can explore the world around them by combining storytelling with hands-on activities. This will also take place on April 24th. On Saturday, April 19th, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., we have the Playland Beach and Pool Job Fair. And this is important for our youngsters that are home from college and school and looking for work this summer. You can apply and interview on the spot for beach and pool attendants, lifeguards, custodial staff, and cashiers. That will be located again at the Westchester County Center, and it'll be in the Little Theater. And then finally, on Saturday, April 19th, the Birch Beer Make and Taste. Now, this is not the kind of beer you're thinking about. This is for our youngsters age 7 and older. They can join us to learn how this old-fashioned soda gets made, starting with the tapping process, and try some of our own farm fresh beer in this interactive program. That'll be at the Hilltop Hanover Farm Center in Yorktown. And finally, on Sunday, April 20th, from 9:30 to 11, Yoga in the Gardens at Lasden Park. And that'll be also held on April 27th, May 4th, 11th, 25th, and again in June 8th, 15th, 22nd, and 29th. There'll be a test to see if you all remember those dates. Thank you, sir. We're glad to report on this program.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy County Executive. And again, it was another chock full of information event session that we've had today. We certainly had started with our municipal partner today, Supervisor Ed Lachterman from the town of Yorktown. We were so glad to have him here, but we were even more pleased and privileged to have Chris Perez, a true hero, to be here to talk about an incident that happened in the town of Yorktown at Jefferson Village, and his extraordinary steps to make sure that a person was safe and secure at the end of the day, who was also very appreciative of Mr. Perez being here today. We then went to our friends in the National Public Safety Telecommunications Week with all of our friends from emergency services that are working in what we lovingly call 60 Control, which is our dispatch center that works with all of the local municipalities that participate in that, as well as the local municipalities themselves, to recognize those folks that are on the other end of the phone when you dial 911 or when you dial the non-emergency numbers as well in some of the communities, to make sure that we have everyone safe and secure. And we certainly have a proclamation for them, because it's not a National Public Safety Telecommunications Week without a proclamation. All right, so we're going to make sure to do that. We followed that up with our Westchester County Office of Drug Abuse Prevention and Stop DWI, the Chair, Patricia Tomasi, as well as the County Taxi and Limousine Commission Chairperson and CEO, Leandra Estuche, who was here to talk about prom weeks and the things that were coming up. We followed that up. We're talking about our nationally accredited and award-winning park system, and actually making sure that we continue to do that. And we also had Teja Santala from our Commissioner of Human Rights talk to us about the April 30th event that is coming up. We know that this is Passover week for those that are celebrating, and then we go right into, this is also Holy Week, so we have people that will be participating in Easter on this Sunday coming up. And again, we want to make sure that everyone is safe and secure in Westchester County. We thank you all so much for watching. I'm Ken Jenkins, County Executive, and have a wonderful, wonderful week.